let's go down to the AFC Championship game, the Arrowhead Invitational, if you will. We got a rematch of the 2021 AFC Championship, and the Chiefs opened as 1-point favorites, but now that line has flipped to the Bengals as 1-point favorites. 4:30 p.m. on CBS Mountain Time, and the obvious elephant in the room, big question is Mahomes' health. How much is that ankle going to affect him? It's a high ankle sprain. It's yes, he played on it. He played well, but that's adrenaline. There's some type of shot, but and his shoes were about as quadruple knotted as tight as you're going to be, so it would not balloon up. But he was in a walking boot leaving the stadium on
I, I
on Saturday.
he wasn't. I thought they said he wasn't.
Oh, well, I heard he was. I guess we've got conflicting reports, but as that week goes on, as the swelling is going to go up. We're going to see. Andy Reid already said today that he's going to play. How effective will he be? How effective is he going to be from the pocket? This might be the best thing that happens to Kansas City, where it's going to force them to run the ball, and that's going to be key. And when Kansas City has chosen to run the ball, and when Kansas City was struggling this year, Grant said that they have to call more runs where the offensive line knows they're going to run, and when they've done that, they've had a lot of success. Is that something they're going to do? Has Andy Reid learned from not doing that last year? And then on Cincinnati's side can Cincinnati protect Burrow? That is a tremendous pass rush in Kansas City with Chris Jones, Frank Clark. Frank Clark is like number 2
All time. And
all time in playoff postseason
it's like
sacks.
13 in his career.
Yeah. And I think will Zach Taylor continue to run the ball? I think they should be able to run it going by watching last week's game against Jacksonville. And in the end, I think this game is going to come down. It's going to come down to how healthy Mahomes is, how effective he is going to be from the pocket, how well Kansas City's able to protect him, and if he's able to make plays when he has to, like he did against Jacksonville. Will he? We'll get to predictions after Grant goes and discusses this game.
So I guess the first thing with the Mahomes injury is I read a report today, or Jay Glazer said it yesterday before the game, that Mahomes was feeling better this morning than the team anticipated that he was, or sorry, that was Sunday morning. So I guess that's a good thing. Who knows? It could be a bunch of nonsense. They could be just saying that to say that, play that chess game with Cincinnati. But then you also hear today, I guess, in 2019, the year they won the Super Bowl, he also suffered a high ankle sprain against Jacksonville. And it sounds like that one was a lot worse than what this is now. And he played through that, and he played well the next game with that. So take that for what it's worth. But if that's the case, that's a good sign. But again, who knows? Like you said, Dylan, maybe this Mahomes injury, maybe it might be the best thing that ever happened to Kansas City, because now it forces Andy to run the ball a little more and maybe, get some play action. If Cincinnati, they're still worried if Patrick's Patrick and they're going to play that, 3-man front where they don't, and, cover 2 where they don't want to get beat deep. Well, just, go down the field 12, 13, 14 plays, 5 yards a carry, 6-yard reception here and there. But one thing I think, if Patrick is limited with his mobility this week, the one player that no one's talking about who's injured, who hasn't played since week 10, and it seems like every week there's some small hiccup with his recovery, is McCall Hartman. Because if McCall can come back, that's 4-3 speed you have that can take the top off the defense when you're going to need it when Patrick maybe doesn't have his legs. And there was multiple times last year in that AFC title game where McCall was open down the sideline. He had a touchdown. He had a 25-yard reception. He had a big play. And Patrick missed him because Patrick was too focused on getting the ball to Tyreek. So maybe, just maybe, McCall can come back. And if he can come back, that would be huge this week. Like I said, since Patrick doesn't have all the mobility that he normally does to make his Mahomes magic. And another thing I think people are going to talk about, that not enough people in national media are going to talk about, is can this Chiefs defensive line bow up and play the best game of their career and make these backups in Cincinnati pass block, because these guys are backups for a reason. Cincinnati wants to throw the ball all over the field, and they probably can't pass block as well as these starters. They might be able to run block more, but that's not who Cincinnati is. They want to throw it 30 to 35 times a game with Burrow. And last week, that almost kind of just like the Chiefs this week, they were forced into running the ball, and that was the best thing that happened to Cincinnati. So can they Chiefs return to where it looked like when they played the Raiders the second time and the Titans and stop the run? Or are they going to look like they did last week and also when they played the Raiders the first time this year? They're giving up 4.5 yards a carry. It's always 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2. You give Cincinnati the whole playbook. That's what it's going to come down to. Because that first meeting in the regular season, that Cincinnati offensive line dominated the Chiefs, and they beat that ass. And Joe Mixon was out, but Samaje Perine had over, I think, 120 total yards. And that set up the play action game, and Cincinnati scored a couple touchdowns off that. So the one thing that the people in the national media aren't going to talk about is, can this Chiefs defensive line dominate, make Cincinnati pass block with the crowd noise and a bunch of backups in there, and then maybe they can finally get to Burrow and cause some pressure where he throws an interception or two, and the Chiefs get a short field.
There you go. The other part too is with Mahomes is how much is that leg going to affect his accuracy? Because planting, he did have a couple of throws that normally would, when he's healthy, he would hit and not have issues. But you could tell in the Jacksonville game that leg was clearly bothering him when he was throwing it, and it was planting on it. That how much of an effect is that going to have on it? Because there's going to be a point in this game where it's going to be 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13, and game is hanging in the balance, and they're going to need. It's going to be a 3-5 step drop, and he's going to have to throw it. And is that bad leg going to hinder his accuracy? It could.
Well, and I'll be intrigued because the 3 times that the Chiefs and Bengals have played in the Burrow Zach Taylor era, the Bengals have been real laid back on defense. We're only going to rush 3, send 8 back in coverage, maybe send 4 guys, but we're not going to give them one-on-one matchups and go deep. Does this Cincinnati staff change it up this week, knowing that Patrick doesn't have his legs and he's got to get the ball out? Are they going to, double team Travis and then make sure Patrick is on the same page with his wide receivers, with Juju, with MVS? If McColl can come back, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, that they know, hey, the blitz is coming here. Travis is double teamed. I got to turn around and get this ball. Does Cincinnati, do they change it up? Because if you play 4 times in, 380 days, everyone's going to know your tendencies. Spags is going to know what Zach Taylor's going to do, and Zach Taylor's going to know what Spags is going to do, and vice versa for that Cincinnati defensive staff and Andy Reid. Is this when they finally change it up and they do what Jacksonville didn't do, and they come after the quarterback, which is not much like what Cincinnati wants to do? So do they break a tendency? That'll be the fun chess match to watch in this game.
Yes. That's what makes football great, is the game within the game, and how teams adjust, and that's the chess match we talk about is being proactive instead of reactive.
And then also, lastly for the Chiefs here, they brought this up multiple times in the broadcast on Saturday. A very, very, very young secondary. L'Jarius Sneed being a 3rd-year pro, he's the vet back there. But Trent McDuffie's playing a lot as a rookie. Jalen Watson, Brian Cook in the safety, along with Juan Thornhill and Justin Reed. How does this young secondary play? Do they play better than what they did against Cincinnati when Jamar had a big day and T. Higgins did? Because if you watch the game on Saturday against Jacksonville had a lot of success when they were thrown to guys behind the line of scrimmage and they had space. They weren't getting a whole lot, down the field where the coverage was. So I want to see how this young Chiefs secondary can match up against the best receiving core as a whole when you throw in Hayden Hurst and T. Higgins. in the NFL. It should be fun to watch.
Yeah, it will. And let's get the predictions here. And in the end, I think this game comes down to health. Love to see this game with a healthy Pat Mahomes and a healthy offensive line. We're recording this Monday, so we don't really know the health of the Bengals offensive line. I know Kappa and Jonah Williams were last week labeled week to week, so Monday there really isn't any news as far as if they're going to play or not. But in the end, it's going to come down to health and quarterback play, and I think a healthy Joe Burrow is going to be the difference. And I think the Bengals go into Arrowhead for the second year in a row and beat the Chiefs 27-21. What say you, Grant?
It pains me to say this, but it's just, you don't know how that ankle is going to react, and everything I just said about that Chiefs defense. Can they do this? Can they do that? I don't know if they can put it together this week and beat maybe the most complete team in football, or at least the most complete team in the AFC. So unfortunately, for the second year in a row, I think the Bengals come into Arrowhead Stadium and they pull out the dub, and they get a win 28-19.
28. Oh, so it's a two possession game, huh?
I think it'd be one of those where I think the Chiefs they get her close, like 21-19 in the fourth quarter, and they go for two. They can't get it, and then Cincinnati just has that championship level drive where they go down and they get it 28-19. Like I said, it's no knock against this Chiefs team, but the Mahomes magic is not going to be there, or we don't know what it's going to be like. Like I said earlier, if there's one coach where you want to call up a game plan this week when your quarterback's got a bum ankle and scheme guys open, it's Big Red. But let's not forget that game in Cincinnati earlier this year, that fourth and goal play on that Mahomes touchdown was because he used his legs and he was able to jump and do the jump man logo into the end zone on fourth and goal. It's just might not be able to be there, and Cincinnati just looks like they're on a mission right now.
Yeah.
Almost too much to overcome, and like I said, it pains me to say it, but they're just not healthy at the position you need to be.
Yep. And and I think the reason that Joe Burrow is as talented and as good as he is because he developed his love of the game for football in Fargo when his dad was coaching at NDSU. The Bengals, their left guard, who's been a stud for them this year, Cordell Volson, Bison grad, North Dakota native. So, also one of the reasons why I'm cheering for the Bengals. And Joe Burrow did not go to Ohio State. Ohio State fans who try to claim that you're illogical. Urban Meyer didn't want him because he was only a 3-star quarterback, and Joe Burrow is an LSU Tiger and an NDSU Bison.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yep, exactly. So we'll see what happens. Did you hear about the deal that Kansas City made with Roger Goodell to make sure the Chiefs made it this far? Did you
No.
hear about that?
Well,
Yeah.
let's hear about this.
So, somebody tweeted at Jeff Schwartz this weekend about how the Chiefs never get called for holding, and they hold every single play. This is Jeff's response. Yes, every single play. They got a good setup. Before this season, Goodell makes a visit to the Chiefs O-line meeting room. He tells the linemen they won't call holding because it's all scripted. Then he's presented with a giant platter of the best Kansas City barbecue. So, Joe's Kansas City tweets back with Jeff, responds, can confirm that 234 pounds of barbecue were delivered from us. Q39 and Jack Stack's barbecue, per Mr. Goodell's direct orders, was a small price to pay, honestly.
That's fantastic.
So, if we ever get a Chiefs offensive lineman on, that's going to be our first question we ask him is if that is true.